Hey there. I want to use a particular character who's been in or made headlines in the Ghanaian circles for a good week and a half now to draw valuable lessons in relationships, especially committed relationships, marriages, and to help us all be better people, be better partners in marriage. So there's a fetish priest, a lady fetish priest, who's been a fetish for many years, turned Christian, and married to a pastor. Now, this woman is called Evangelist Agrada or Evangelist Patricia. She's been around as an evangelist for a few months now and has her own church and, says she's Christian. I'm not here to talk about people's religion, what they believe or don't believe. That's none of my business. A whole lot of stuff has been spoken about. There's been a lot of controversy about her being fetish and suddenly turning Christian. But that's not why we're here. I don't care about people's religion. I just want to really talk about the circumstances surrounding her marriage and the lessons that can be drawn as a person, as a people from this. This woman is well known in the limelight, and she's not your typical quiet woman. She's got a big gob, so she's well known. So this woman is a fetish, married to a pastor. They're married with children, and she makes a name and fame, money for herself through this fetish business of hers. She has clients, people who believe in what she does, and they patronize it. So she's made a good name and money for herself with what she does. Now, she makes enough money to be able to afford to buy a fellow pastor's church, not a fetish priest, but a pastor's church. And in her mind, she wanted her husband to own the church and be able to do his ministry because, for all intentions and purposes, and for many years, the husband had been like an apprentice pastor, worshipping and serving the big dogs, and not really getting very far, not making no progress. And she felt by doing this, getting him the place that she'd pay for, that he could set out his own ministry, become the man of the house, and be able to help look after the children. In her mind, this is a supportive woman, supporting her husband to live his dream of being a pastor and owning his own church. However, the man of God, the fetish priest husband, has not been interested in the church, hasn't done anything with the church, and the whole building is collapsing and up to no good. And he's still following like an apprentice, following his master and not really breaking free and owning his own church. So this fetish 10 pastor woman is livid because her investment is all going down the drain for nothing when it could have been put to better use. And the lessons that I'm drawing from these and what I want to share with the bulk of us that are listening here is that when you're in a relationship with a man, especially African men, just understand this, that they want to lead, they want to be the heads. And yes, a head is nothing without a neck, but a neck can't be a head. You can't take over the role and take a man's shine, a man's ego, a man's dignity can never be bruised and still behave like a man. And so she meant well in her mind But at the end of the day, the man felt intimidated, embarrassed, ashamed that he couldn't stand on his own 2 feet to be the one to raise the money that buys the church. But this pastor, priest, fetish priest turned pastor has to be the one that coughs out money from her fetish services to afford the church. At the end of the day, if you're going to be with a man, not a boy, not a son, a man, who you want to be the king of your jungle, the head of your house, and have a voice and rule in his kingdom, you need to allow him to be the king. Allowing him to be the king means that being the head of the house, he must be allowed or afforded the opportunity to head the home. And yes, a lot of women, but what is wrong with the woman supporting the husbands if they don't have and they want to support them do something? But the problem is this, is that by always stepping in, it's almost as if you've dished out a plate of food with meat or fish or chicken in it, and now you have to pick the bones off the meat or the fish so that they don't choke. You have to heap the spoon or the fork with the food and even hold the fork before it gets into their mouth. Literally, if you could even chew the food before it goes down their throat, you would do that. Wives, girlfriends, partners in committed relationships just need to understand that sometimes men just want to be left alone to feel like they also have a purpose and a plan in that relationship and should be allowed the opportunity to grow and show what they're also capable of. You can't always step in as Johnny to the rescue or Patricia to the rescue to try to solve every problem, especially financial problems. In our African setting, when men feel less than financially, it's an emotional roller coaster for many. Unless the men don't have no shame, the bulk of them feel embarrassed and ashamed that they're the ones that are having to do this. Sit on their fences and allow the women to be the ones that are dipping their hands in their bags and bringing the monies out all of the time. And so it's no surprise that the man feels that he doesn't have any emotional or physical involvement or investment in this money or the church that was bought for him. And so he wants nothing to do with it. People only take care of things that they struggled to own. That is just human nature. If somebody hasn't worked hard and is sitting there doing nothing, laying idle, and all you're doing is to always provide every need above and beyond for them, they have no regard for it. Haven't worked for it, haven't had to sweat for the money, so why should they care? Right? And so if you're in a relationship, a committed relationship, as a woman, know your place. I'm not sure that, or I don't know, I wasn't there. But from the stories that I've heard so far, there's nothing that comes across to me that says that there was any proper discussion about this whole thing. Was there any buy-in from the guy? Did he ever say that he wanted a church? Or was it imposed on him because she felt that that is what he needed to move on to the next level? You can want something for somebody, but if that person can't see what you see or want to buy into it, and there's no investment of time, effort, or energy, and especially money into this so-called thing, whatever it happens to be in a marriage, you would be left on your own. Time after time after time after time, it is always the case. And even though you have the best of intentions as the woman, you wanted to just be helpful and support your husband and this, that, and the other. Sometimes you just need to let the men get out there and hustle for something that they've worked for themselves. That way there's buy-in. That way there's investment, because effort and energy went into making this money that is then going to be put to a business venture that flourishes. And so the person will move heaven and earth. This is their blood, sweat, and tears. Of course, they would put it to good use. Take it from somebody who knows. And women always try to take this nurturing position in relationships. Nurturing is fine. Mothering is kind of taking it to a whole new level. And so the question is, are you wanting a son, or are you looking for a husband and a man who rules in this jungle of yours? And make sure that you're provided for. If you're going to be in a marriage and relationship and not allow a man to grow a pair, are you going to be able to wear these trousers perpetually in the relationship and then turn around and complain that the man doesn't do anything and you have to pick up the pieces and do everything around there? Who asked you to do anything? Who asked you? Oh, but I just want to cover up his shame. I don't want people to see just how useless he is. It is not your business. Sometimes tough love is love too. And some men just need that opportunity to grow a pair. If you see their trousers is torn and it needs patchwork, let them go patch it up. Maybe if the patchwork starts looking disgusting enough, that might be the kick up their ass to actually sit up and get something done. And I see that a lot with alpha women. Women that have been raised by fellow women that are strong, go-getters, and want to see things happening. And so when they're married to spouses, men that are not as quick on their feet and pushing boundaries to make things happen, they get frustrated and feel that they have to step into everything and make everything happen like clockwork, like yesterday. But sometimes women need to know our place and allow the men to grow, to push, to stretch, and become better people so that they know how to manage their homes as the husbands. Another thing, it's okay to be a celebrity and want people to have or hear your story or your side of things. But be clear and concise about how you want to tell your story and what it is that you want to tell. If you want to salvage your marriage, what you're wanting to talk about are the issues that are in your marriage. There's nothing wrong with admitting that you have problems. That is called being human. But be careful that you don't go down the gutters and the dumps, because sometimes when certain things go to a certain level, there isn't just simply a going back from that. The videos, the comments, the things that have been spewing off social media for the last couple of weeks are almost suggestive that this marriage looks like it is broken down beyond repair. I'm not sure whether this is how or what was intended from the very beginning. But before you go out there and air your linen in public, Decide what your approach is going to be and exactly what you want spoken about before you do so. Speak your truth and be concise about exactly what it is you want to talk about. Talk about the issues and the things that are going on in the marriage that you are aggrieved about. But as soon as you start going in the dumps and start talking about and attacking at each other's personalities, it's game over, because there's no going back from that. Oh, and he's such an ugly man, and he's such an ugly woman, and his penis is tiny and it's only 2 centimeters. So blooming what? We don't care about that. You knew their penis was only 1 centimeter long, but you stuck with it all this while, so you're the bigger fool. Sometimes when you point one accusing finger at somebody, everything else is pointing back towards you. And so the lesson that I've learned from this, and I hope that you're learning from this story that I'm telling you here, is that if you choose to get your voice heard, if you choose to tell your own story about some difficulty that you're experiencing in your life, in your marriage, think about what you want to talk about first before you talk about it. And when you've done that, make sure that whatever you're talking about has absolutely nothing to do with going on the personal level and starting to attack people's personalities, people's physique, and what people look like. Because once you start going down that rabbit hole, there seems to be no end. And then one person records and another has to come back and respond, and the other one responds again, and then the other one thinks that they have to come back with another different story, and everything just gets messed up. Tell your story once. Be as clear, as detailed, and as concise, or whatever as you want to be, but it's just the one time. As soon as you have to come back and explain yourself a second and a third and a fourth time and have episode 8 and 9 of telling your story, there are always loopholes. You might find yourself telling the story in 9 different ways, and now nobody actually knows which part of the story to believe anymore because there are 9 different versions. Sometimes silence is golden. And not saying too much is exactly what is needed in certain circumstances and situations. And so once you've spoken your piece once, that's once too many, and that's enough. I really, really hope that as other cultures are able to do, that we as African people, we as a people, a community, would also learn that you don't have to respond to everything. Sometimes let people speculate and talk about you and say whatever they want to say. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, there's only one truth. You've spoken yours. And that is that. Men need to take their place too and own and take responsibility for their actions. And not allow somebody's hard-earned money and cash and things that they've worked so hard for, regardless of what it was that they were involved with, which I've already said that I'm not interested in, go down the drain. Money is not easily made. Not that easily made. It takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to make money. And so when that money is made and people trust and invest monies into you, they expect a return. If you don't want any part of it, then don't get involved in it in the first place. Finally, women, be careful who you choose to be with. Because no matter how bad situations get, there comes a point where there just have to be boundaries. I admire partners that never go in the dumps with their co-partners, no matter how much they're pushed. I really admire such people. I know we live in a community where most people are not allowed to have a voice, especially we women. When couples have arguments, oh, you're the woman, you just keep quiet, just ignore it. It doesn't matter. You don't have to respond. You don't have to say what's going on in your marriage. You don't want the whole world to know what you're going through. It's okay. Just be quiet. It's fine. Let him embarrass himself and say whatever he wants to say. No, I disagree with that. If the woman wants to speak, she should be allowed to speak too. It's her story. I don't think that anybody should be muzzled and not allowed to speak. Each person must have a voice, but equally, it must never go in the dumps. If you are grieved about something, it doesn't have to get to the personal level. It is something that has been done to you that you don't like. Those grievances can be aired in a decent manner without going down the dumps and attacking the physical. As soon as it goes down the physical route, it's game over. Marriage cannot be salvaged. And if that is what you're seeking to do, I still don't think that going on social media and reporting and recording video after video is the way to do it. Speak your truth once and for all and never ever come back. The last thing that I've learned from this whole story is that a lot of times on social media, people like to hold things against you and want to weaponize anything that they think is a defect or something that doesn't quite portray you as a perfect, fantastic person. Everybody's got something that stinks about their life. And I'm so happy and grateful that I learned this earlier on in life, that at this particular point in time, there's nothing that anybody can think that they would hold over me. I have told you, and I will tell you anything that there is before anybody weaponizes that and wants to muzzle me in on social media with that. Have a voice. Own your truth and speak it without fear, intimidation, or anything else for that matter. People will talk about you for a couple of days, max. After that, they're on to the next thing to talk about. You're never that new. You're never that current or that important for very long. The novelty wears off very quickly. And then they're on to the next thing. The sad part is that those hard 48 hours, 2 weeks, 1 week, 1 month can be the longest 2 weeks of your life. Resilience, having a good bunch of friends and a safety network, though, can save you and prevent you from committing blunders that you can't easily unravel or get yourself out of. So in all things, think about it deeply. Think about your actions before you take them. And when you've taken them, own them and own your truth. And never let anybody muzzle you in or prevent you from having a voice. Marriage is not any passport or visa that we're going to heaven with, for which people should feel like they're choking or suffocating when they're grieved. A word to the wise is enough. There's been too much drama in the story. Sadly, I don't know where this marriage is headed. It might very well be the end. But women, men, partners, look after your investments. And spend your own money, build your own empire, and stop entrusting monies to people who have no business or any interest whatsoever in the said thing, in the name of trying to cover their shame. Nobody has asked you to cover anybody else's shame. You might very well be in a marriage, but you're still individual in the marriage. So cover your own shame. Do your own business. And make your own profits and dividends. And stop trying to make your dream somebody else's dream when they are not dreaming the dream that you are dreaming. Okay? I love you guys so much. I want to see people succeed and thrive in 2022. God bless you. Have a fantastic good night. And watch your investments. Okay? Bye.